Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the High Ground. It's Newbie here with Tickety as we are getting ready for some gold community pugs. How's it going, Tick? You ready for this one?
It's going well. I'm absolutely ready. I'm really curious to see how the new patch is affecting the player base at all sorts of different ranks. As you can see right now, I've been practicing the art of standing so extremely still, as well as ventriloquism. So you're probably very impressed, I'm sure. But of course, the spotlight today is on our players as we're getting ready to go into these pugs.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see how the new patch has affected lower down. I probably in some ways a little more familiar than you are just because I play in this kind of level a little bit more. My one prediction I will say is I think if we do see Moira, I think Moira will be pretty strong.
Yeah, Moira's healing right now. It feels like Moira's the only support who can still heal numbers that were hitting previous to this patch, right? With the combination of her spray as well as the healing orb hitting the same target, it's almost like that 20% DPS reduction. I mean, it's still there, obviously, but Moira's the one who's coping with it the best, I would say. Just the amount of healing she can put out in the middle of a team fight across multiple members, AoE healing, of course. She's very strong spot right now. And of course, Coalescence is always going to be a very fast building tempo style ultimate. So yeah, she's definitely a very popular hero, not even just in sort of like middling ranks, but in the higher levels of play as well. I've been seeing a ton of Moira.
So, what do you think will be a variance? I would say maybe between the higher level play that you might be a little bit more used to, as opposed to like the gold elo that we're going to be seeing today. Like, what variance do you think you're going to see between those two ranks?
Well, I mean, to be honest, the games I've been playing in my ranked games, they don't feel much higher than gold these days anyway. It's all chaos all the way down. I think a lot of players are still kind of finding their footing on this patch. There's a lot of players I'm seeing who are still kind of trying to play like it's the previous patch where you just sit behind your tank a lot, shoot the hell out of the enemy tank. But if the enemy tank knows how to deal with that, or if the enemy team is playing a little bit faster than that, we've seen a lot more dive heroes and compositions come to light recently. It can definitely sway things, but at this level, who knows? It's going to be probably a battle between comfort picks and maybe some old styles versus maybe some new heroes rising to the occasion with some of these buffs, some of these works that we've been seeing work out on this new patch.
Yeah, so I guess further to that, like, are there any heroes you could see? Like, if you just want to take a blind stab in the dark, maybe. Do you think
Well,
what kind of heroes are going to be strong, weak, etc.?
yeah, we've already talked about Moira, and I mean, I feel like on the other side of things, we have to talk about Zen, the discord and damage that he puts out. Even after the nerf, he's a lot squishier now. But without a coordinated dive, he's still very hard to punish, and he still puts out a ton of damage. I would not be surprised to see a lot of Zen today. I think the biggest question mark for me is what these teams are going to be playing on tank. I think at high levels, we've been seeing a ton of dive, like we've been seeing, like a lot of Diva, Winston, Wrecking Ball, Doomfist, all those kinds of tanks. And other than that, just lots of kind of DPS style tanks. We've seen a decent amount of Junker Queen, some Zarya in certain situations, but the frontline tanks, the Ramatras, the Reinhardts, the Arisas, somewhat falling out of favor recently. So we'll see if that's true here in these pugs. But yeah, that's the biggest question mark for me is what we're going to see in terms of the tank line.
Yeah, and I think you brought up Reinhardt there. I think Reinhardt's one tank that's really struggling with a lot of the stuff that's happening right now. Like, Reinhardt's big thing is they just have the hammer to swing, right? So I think without a lot of consistent range damage, I feel like that hurts Reinhardt. Like, they can stand there, hold the shield up until they die, essentially, and like, you're not getting a ton of value out of that hero. So I think we might be seeing a little bit of Reinhardt, just a sneak peek there. I know we've had some of our players talking about playing some Reinhardt, so we still might get a little taste of that hero, regardless of where they are in the quote unquote meta currently.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not like they can't be played. I've just been noticing them fall out of favor because, again, there's a lot of players who try to play them the way they used to be played a couple patches ago, where they're just unkillable walking death machines. That is no longer the case thanks to the new DPS passive. They, in fact, can die even through things like Transcendence and Life Weaver and all these kinds of defensive abilities. Tanks are actually dying again, which feels crazy to say, but it's definitely very refreshing. And of course, on the ceremonial King's Row first map, of course we're gonna have a Rhine duo just as we're talking about how he's falling out of favor.
Yeah, just a quick note there. These two tank players are friends, good friends. So
Okay,
they
so
were
this is a
talking
true.
before today's game, like, let's do a Ryan 1v1. So I don't know if it'll be like a full-on honorable 1v1 where everyone else is kind of watching, but they are both ready and willing to play into the Ryan mirror, so I'm super excited to see that.
I gotta say, this already doesn't look very fair. Looking at the red team, there's a few heroes there that I think do really well into an enemy Reinhardt. I don't know how long Big Boy Wally's shield's going to be lasting against a Bastion, and I don't know he's going to be playing too aggressively against that Mei wall.
Yeah, that shield might feel like it's made out of paper mache, and already the red team getting through the choke, and Wally just gets swarmed by 4 members of the red team. And that's going to be quick work for Kiyosashi and the rest of the red team just getting forward, getting picks quick and fast. Like this is going to be the first point coming up. A nice Immor coming out as well to save that Reinhardt.
Yeah, perfect timing there. We saw even through all the healing coming through, Ryan was about to die to nothing but an Ash Dynamite. He was blocking everything else. So the DPS passive is still relevant, but when you take the enemy team, well, the enemy tank out of the fight that quickly, red team just snowballs out of control to cap that first point, no problem.
Yeah, that's about as quick as you want to get, and a red team is still pushing forward, trying to get through Arch here to see if they don't have to deal with this choke early on in their attack of point B. Right now, both these Reinhardts, you can see them, they have to play it very safe, because the minute they start taking damage from the DPS, they gotta back up and get more healing, because that 20% less healing they get from the DPS passive can really hurt them. Now here comes the Bob as well, so ultimate's being spent. And
Block
even
shatter
though
there by the blue team as well.
one, that is a nice block coming out for sure, Tick. And Wally trying to swing and get the blue team back in this fight. Cart inching forward, but so far these teams really trading pretty even blows here on the second point.
Yeah, we're seeing the red team here crash in with so much strong cooldown offensive value. We see the Bastion form, we see the Mei wall, we see the Rhine charge, we see the Lucio speed. Everything is being used aggressively, and it's often netting them a few kills, and it's often leading them to a place to easily clean up the rest of this team fight. That was a little bit scary because Big Boy Wally did block the shatter and found some picks of his own, and I mean, more than they're just the Reinhardt. We see the Life Weaver finding a pick as well, but not long for this world. I can't even keep up. There's so much carnage going on in this map right now. The Rhine pins are swinging back and forth. Rhine shatter on neither side right now, so we're going to have to rely on some other ultimates to finish this one, but Kiyosashi goes down very early. Again, without being able to use all their cooldowns aggressively, the red team starts to crumble a little bit throughout these longer team fights, so they're going to back up, wait for their tank to respawn, and try and go in with that opening salvo one more time.
And red team did get some card push there before they were finally taken out. I mean, you almost start coming farther with Johnny Boy going down first in that engagement. You know, blue team loses their Lucio, but they were able to rebound and hold on as they now have access to that Deadeye. A lot of ultimates being spent here. Beat coming out to meet the Blizzard coming through from extra menu to see if they can mitigate some of that damage. Caps just running for their life away from the swinging Reinhardt, and luckily with that power slide, they're able to do so. But you gotta be careful. Kiyosashi is going to hit those pins from distance, able to finish off Caps, and that is a surprise kill from the Reinhardt.
Kiyosashi is living on the razor's edge right now. Finally finishing that kill on the Sojourn, of course. Well done to clean him up and help him cap the point. But living with, what, 10 HP by the end there? And it's showing no signs of slowing down. Pinning again, team fight after team fight. Blue team is struggling to reel back after this opening aggression. They really just need to hold smarter corners, back up with their defensive abilities when they need to, but need to push back just as strong as the red team is going. Otherwise, they're never going to find their footing. Another blocked shatter coming in here from Big Boy Wally. Let's see if he's going to find an opportunity to land his own, charging at 94% now.
That was a great block from Wally. It has allowed the blue team to kind of stabilize here on this corner, but we got the Animatrix now coming out from Blue Ranger and the high ground control from Cax. So this is blue team trying to take advantage of those players grouped up behind the red window. And unfortunately, Cax is going to go down. That is an unfortunate environmental elimination of themselves, basically. But Blues is there on the cast, able to get a couple picks. And blue team should be able to hold on here. They have the Tree of Life as well, out and growing, and that is going to be, even with the loss of the Sojourn, a stabilization here for the blue team.
Absolutely. And I think this is where Red Team's strategy might start to struggle, because while they have been really consistent at finding opening picks and getting the fight started really well in their favor, now that we're closer to this 3rd-point cap where the blue team spawn is so close, unless they get a clean team fight win, a full 5-man wipe, it's going to be hard for them to fully cap this objective. So they're going to need to tighten things up and maybe risk a little bit less going in here.
The ultimates will be coming online here first for the red team. It looks like Hateful Ace is already able to find one pick in onto Big Boy Wally, and that is going to be the go button for the red team to get forward here. The red team, by the way, once again, new beats new, so love to see them getting forward as the blizzard comes out, and now the shatter right near the spawn door is able to take down blues, and that is going to be the red team just surging right now. They're getting pick after pick. Blue team really at this point just trying to whittle off as much time off the clock as they can. Adas goes down, but that might be the end here. Johnny Boy sticking in onto the point, throws down the sound barrier, trying to get this engagement as long as possible. Clock is still at 2:45 and counting, so there's a long way to go if you're the blue team. That looks like it's going to be curtains right there. Round 1 complete, 2:42 left on the clock after the red team's attack.
I thought they might have had something there with the beat coming through, the high noon, the Lucio jumping off the map. There was a potential for a turn there, but no further eliminations came through, and some nice playmaking on the point with an abundance of ultimates will secure the full map cap for the red team. Almost 3 minutes on the clock. That is absolutely incredible. Let's see if blue team can tighten up and find the same kind of success on their attack round.
It wouldn't be the first time, Tick, that we've seen in these Pugs environments that both teams are just full-on attack teams and nobody really plays defense up to the same level. So if that's the case, we could be in for a long stay here on Kings Row. But to start that off, the blue team is going to have to make a really strong attack here to even this up, because they have quite a big hill to climb.
It looks like there might have been some sort of prior agreement from both teams here. Both tanks locking a mirror pick again, this time on the Doomfist. A huge change in style. I can't really think of two more polar opposite tanks in the roster right now, but a lot of aggressive potential coming in from the blue side. Just like you said, maybe they're just an attacking team. Maybe they'll find their footing getting the ball rolling on their favor here when they can get the timings down and find some aggressive picks. We'll have to wait and see. Blue team rolling out with interesting heroes, to say the least. Let's see what they can do with this Doomfist Widowmaker combo.
Yeah, we have seen Cax play the Widowmaker before in these Pugs, finding a headshot so early on there, almost gets Hateful Ace, but wasn't able to secure the kill. And now you can see Big Boy Wally just ranging in, seeing if they can pick off a member of the red team. And okay, Blue Ranger, Guardian Angels away from that. They must have heard the hello and just booked. Blue Ranger getting low, and Cax is able to find a headshot. Okay, so the two tanks are going for an honorable 1v1 in the backline right now. Both the Doomfist coming together, trading haymakers, and both silver low. That was a very close 1v1.
So
Big
close.
Boy Wally coming out on top. You know, props to both the tanks and honestly the whole lobby for allowing that 1v1 to happen.
Oh, and it looks like they're going back to the Reinhardt. They do not want to honor the Doom victory here. Are they going to even touch? I thought for a second maybe they're just going to like decide first point with the Doom 1v1 and they'll like just let the blue team take it here, but no. Red team back trying to secure footing, but Cax says no thank you. I think I'll just headshot your entire backline if you don't mind. Taking out two, Genji does get rezzed up, but blue team still has a clear numbers advantage here.
Yeah, Cax basically just saying, like, I will decide what's going to happen in this fight, getting those two critical hits. And now we got a ping going back into the backline. Kiyosashi already showing that they can hit those pins on a regular basis, as Cax does indeed find another headshot, but has to back up. Not as many members of the blue team left. And Red has stabilized here on the defense, and they've already burned more time off the clock on point A than the blue team ever did on their defense. So if and when they lose this, they're going to be happy with this point A defense.
It's crazy to think we just saw a Doomfist 1v1 and now we're already back to our close shatter building for Kiyoshi. He's already at 80% going into this fight. He might build it if he can stay alive here, but I don't know if that's going to be in the cards. A nice pin comes through from Big Boy Wally. Finally finds his way in and pulled back from the Life Weaver to help stabilize. Blue team's looking to make this first point finally tick over in their favor, but Cax goes down. No more picks for them coming through here. Both shatters online. Kiyoshi finds theirs first, and that'll take down Big Boy Wally. The high noon not finding purchase either. Blue team will have to lick their wounds and try again.
Like, it almost feels like Blues at this point is holding onto those grenades to try and stop Rhine pins coming into their back line. And that fight
not a
was
bad call.
really, that fight was on a high wire too. That could have easily gone Blue team's way. They just weren't able to pull it out. But now they're going to be running into multiple ultimates coming out from the red team. They got the Kitsune Rush, the Attack Visor, and Dragon Blade all ready and waiting in the wings. And now we got the Shadow coming out. That one looks like it was blocked by Kiyosashi. Now Extra Mendez gets in the back end, finds a dash kill as the Kitsune Rush is out. And that is a fine pairing with Attack Visors. Now Hateful Ace is going to get forward and find multiple final blows, get the team kill for the red team. Now they've got the clock under a minute, so this is looking like it could be a full hold.
I was so transfixed at this soldier skin while you were casting. I love this skin so much. This gun looks so sick. But yeah, absolutely incredible macro there actually from the red team on defense, fully knowing that Big Boy Wally was looking for that shatter, played very defensively until that comes out, and then immediately countered with the Dragon Blade, with the Kitsune Rush, and with that Tac Visor for an easy team wipe. Blue team now, with only 20 seconds left on the clock, are wiping once again. Kiyoshi leading their team, Kiyosashi I should say, leading their team into another team fight with a big Earth Shatter to get the ball rolling. Blue team needs to make a very decisive play here if they're going to have any chance of full capping first.
Yeah, somebody's going to have to touch here in the next 5 seconds just to proc overtime. And the pin knocks Big Boy Wally up into the air, but that isn't going to find any eliminations. And now the Ticket team, the blue team, pushing forward, seeing if they can elongate this map anymore. We are into overtime, and the extra menu is already going to get one, getting rid of Johnny Boy. That's a lot of value out of the fight with the Moira going down. And now with a 4v5, can Blue clutch this one up? They have the walls online, but that looks like it's going to be the only ultimate to speak of, and Kiyosashi finds 2, and that is going to mean nobody else from the blue team can get on the point, and the red team, New Beats Newts, are going to take this first map.
The Newts strike first. Well played from both teams. I think we just saw such a dominant showing from New Beats Newts there, making such decisive play centered around Kiyosashi, spearheading the whole operation. Of course, on the Rhine, so many aggressive pins, so many shatters landing. There's so much going right from these engagements. If the Ticket team is to bounce back, is to reel back from still working on my ventriloquism, still focus on surviving these aggressive moments, they can absolutely bounce back in this series. They just need to draw these fights out longer. They can't be starting fights with one of their teammates getting pinned. They can't be starting fights with their team on the ground to a shatter. So between Kiyosashi holding it down in the front line and their DPS and the rest of their back line finding that aggression off of his back, they're looking really well oiled, well structured right now. And I think the blue team, Ticket team, might need to change up their tactics if they're going to find some more success in the rest of the series.
Listen, I gotta give a shout out to Harvester for not showing me that picture before we started. And Harvester, you were right. That was a good call for me not to see that. I wasn't prepared. You've somehow got a lot closer to the camera, and now just the intensity of that stare is just, it's getting into my soul every time I look at that monitor.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I'm feeling it a bit myself too.
Well,
but all right.
That is going to do it for Kings Row. Now I'm interested to see what map we're going to play next, because normally we start with a control and then we go to Kings Row. Now obviously with the tank 1v1 we had for that last match, we wanted to make sure that we got a Kings Row in, which is I'm guessing why we went to Kings Row off the hop. So it remains to be seen if we'll go back to a control map next. I know it's kind of tough to decide what to do in these Pugs environments sometimes, but Tick, if you're the losing team, if you have the map pick, what do you think maybe they're going to pick yet? Do you have any really good idea where they might go?
If we're talking Overwatch League Grand Finals, $1 million on the line kind of decision, I think the biggest thing the blue team needs to focus on is shutting down Kiyosashi's Reinhardt. There was too much presence in the front line. They didn't have a good answer for it, even when they were running it was actually them running the Bastion and the Mei, making it so hard to deal with that frontline presence as well. I think they need to go something more open concept, maybe something with some longer sight lines to help poke them out. If we're talking King of the Hill, there's plenty of options. But now we're getting word we are going to an escort map, probably the map with the longest and most suitable sightlines to defeating a Reinhardt, Circuit Royale. Traditionally, we've seen a lot of Sigma on these maps, a lot of long-range snipers and things like that. Not the only thing you can run here, but the sightlines lend them to finding success there so easily. So we'll see what both teams are cooking up here on Circuit Royale going into map 2. It's possible we see more Ryan. It's not unheard of. Maybe we'll see some Paris strats where we're TPing over the top and getting onto the back line or something like that. But barring any sort of crazy shenanigans, I'm expecting a bit of a slower map going into this one.
I don't even remember what that looks like. I'm trying to like go through my mind palace to find Paris strats, and I'm gotta be honest, I'm coming up empty. That was a long time ago. But Circuit Royale might be a double whammy for the blue team, because I mean, not only do you potentially have the option to minimize that Reinhardt value from the other team, but you also have Cax, who will probably be playing the Widowmaker again, and that could make a big difference as well.
Yeah. No exaggeration to say that Cax was, even despite losing and getting full health in first points, showing some dominant play on the Widowmaker, some really crucial picks that helped them find those first 2 ticks. Unfortunately, they couldn't capitalize on the whole point, but could absolutely become the difference maker on this map here. And yep, of course, no surprise, both snipers, Widowmaker and Hanzo, locked in immediately for the blue side. This is probably the most meta composition this map has ever seen. This is what the pros are running. This is what they were running in the Overwatch League before it dissolved. This is what works on this map.
Yeah, there's so many ways you can take advantage of this composition on this map in particular. And this one will be fun to watch because it looks like potentially, at least at the beginning, we will have a pretty marked difference in styles between the two teams. You got the shield double sniper going out for the blue team on their defense, and then you got the attackers with the Winston, Sombra, Genji, so a little bit of a more dive look.
And while dive works excellently, and Sombra especially works excellently into these squishy backliners, the Zens, the Widows, it's about trying to get in. There's such a long, narrow route for this approach that it's very easy to get poked out if you're Winston, very easy to get decloaked if you're Sombra, and potentially very difficult to actually secure this dive. We see Kiyosashi going in and almost melted immediately from that storm bow, but it's actually Blues going down first, biting off a little more than he could chew. Thought he could go in to finish that kill, and his entire team will pay for it. Cax going in to do the honorable job of dying on the payload alongside Big Boy Wally, just to make sure, even if we're going to lose this team fight, you're not getting any card progress.
Some good patience and a smart move from Kiyosashi as well, waiting out that Discord, and then jumps in while that Discord isn't able to be put back on the Winston. And by the time you have the option to put the Discord back on that main tank, your whole team's already dead. So some good coordination there, a good job from Adis as well, getting in the back with their Winston, so they have that extra Kariko headshot around for some more value coming out. And now you can see this card push coming up, and it's all going to be blue team wanting to drop down and engage. They're going to have to do so eventually, and that is going to leave Johnny Boy and Cax open for Kiyosashi and 8 Blaze to get in and get a couple picks. And just like that, it looks like the first point is done and dusted for the red team.
Yeah, we were talking before the match even began how much stronger dive is looking on this patch, and I think the red team is putting that to extremely good use. They are defining the tempo of this match. They are starting on the same page. They are focusing targets together. Kiyosashi's landing these bubbles. It's denying a lot of the follow-up damage and healing from the blue team backline. But again, this map is a very difficult map to properly run dive on. All it takes is for blue team to, one, stop staggering and make sure they can set up some footing where they're not getting surrounded, and just slowly poke out the enemy team's aggressors. If they can force out this Winston, the rest of the dive will surely crumble. Report Sombra for feeding.
So I've been told that, I guess before this map, Wally said, I don't play Ryan, but I do play Sigma. Unfortunately, the engages coming over the red team have been so clean so far. There isn't really much as Sigma's been able to do. All of a sudden their backline is getting roasted, although Johnny Boy finding a couple of shots on that Zenyatta. And if you want the Zenyatta to get a lot of work done, they gotta hit their shots, and that's exactly what Johnny Boy did in that last fight to finally push the red team back.
Maybe when you say that, I feel a little bit bad for Wally saying he's a Sigma player, not a Rhine player. We got to see Kiyosashi's style in the Rhine matchup, but there's really not much Sigma can do against a Winston, right? There's obviously not much you're going to be blocking from him. He's not going to be sticking around long enough to be poked out in the front line. Sigma usually thrives from having a presence in the front line to take these long duels in, take his range damage to, and things like that. He can still try to play the Winston, but it's not exactly a favorable matchup for the Sigma. His backline just needs to make sure they can survive the dive and they can poke him out after that bubble goes down.
And a little bit of extra survivability will be available in this next fight, as we do have a bunch of ultimates online for both teams. 4v4 in the ultimate category right now. Blue might actually have 5 here once this fight really kicks off. So this is a fight that can go either way and is really going to depend on the ultimate usage.
We do see an EMP coming up and a blade from the DPS of red team. The dive's coming through. Are we going to see these ultimates start the fight? Looks like Kiyosashi's going down before anything comes out. The blade and the rush are coming through. Will it be enough? Baptiste is down. The blade is over. Trance is coming up to stabilize. There's still an EMP on the menu from the extra menu, but his team is quickly dying around him. I don't know if it still makes sense to try and go aggressive here.
That was a rough stop for the red team, having Kiyosashi go down really before any ultimates started getting used in that fight. So to lose your tank early on, that can be devastating. But now Kiyosashi has spawned and got back into the fight as the immortality field goes down. Cax is able to find one with the railgun. Can Cax find more? They have the overclock online. They have not used that ultimate as of yet, and they probably won't even need to, as Hateful Ace falls to the floor, and this is going to be the red team disengaging.
Absolutely. That fight looked so strong from the red team. So many aggressive ultimates used, so many early picks coming through, but good stabilization. A nicely timed trance from Johnny Boy keeps some surviving members alive. And because all of these team members on the blue team, they don't rely too heavily on having their cooldowns up the same way that Winston or Genji or Sombra does. So they're able to fight out these longer engagements more comfortably. But these longer engagements might not happen when your tank goes down so quickly to an EMP. Railgun overclock coming through from Cax, but with 5 HP, I don't know if he's going to be able to get too much done here. Bubble blocking most of his damage. He's forced fully out, and second point is capped. As I'm still trying to talk about the previous fight, red team's already starting the next one. They're moving fast, just like you would expect to see from this style of dive comp.
Listen, extra menu hit the 5-person EMP in that fight, so when everybody gets hit with the Sombra ultimate, your team is most likely going to be in for a bad time, and that's exactly what blue team was in for in that last fight. And now extra menu trying to push this aggression, gets another elimination with the help of the rest of the team. Now the Sombra is getting set up on the high ground, and this red team is back with full momentum.
Absolutely. No more DPS ultimates, although a blade coming up soon. There's not a whole lot the blue team has here. They need to plan for a defensive absorption of all this aggression coming in from the red side, whether that's just by poking them out early, definitely not by taking space on your own. Caxian getting dove. This is not looking good for the blue team's hold. Immortality field forced, Bastion form forced, Primal booping everyone around. If the red team stays alive here, they might fully snowball this into a full point cap.
This is carnage right now. Blue team has lost multiple members before the Transcendence ever hits the floor. Now Johnny Boy is able to find one as the EMP comes out once again from the extra menu, and the follow-up is there for New Beat Snoots once again. Finding that EMP, finding the targets they need to, and then the backups there for that Sombra. The picks come through, and that's going to be another strong round for the red team.
Absolutely. Really impressive showing this style of play on this map in particular. These long hallways, these tight chokes typically make it very hard for a dive team to properly approach. You typically want lots of different forms of cover to be able to jump between them, get closer to your targets, set up flank routes, which frankly don't really exist on the first 2 points of this map. So the fact that they were able to cap and with almost 2 minutes on the time bank show that they really know what they're playing for and they're executing together extremely quickly. Again, the blue team here, they're playing the standard quote-unquote meta compositions, but I think there's too many instances where they're getting caught out where they're not properly set up. They're getting caught out one by one. They're getting caught out before they're ready to use an ultimate, and red team are just taking the fight to them, forcing their style onto the blue team, and it's clearly been working for them.
And blue team, so it looks like they want to make at least one change so far, going over to a diva, so trying to be a little bit more mobile for their attack round coming up here shortly. And Dick, if you're the red team, you just kind of got to keep doing what you're doing, but they are going to switch to what looks like a longer range sniper, almost sniper-ish comp of their own with the Ash Hanzo. And really that's just taking advantage of the map architecture and, like we've talked about before, the longer sight lines and a little bit of verticality you get off the start as a defender.
Yeah, absolutely. On defense here, it's hard to really force your game plan because the attackers can always just go back and swap into something that counters you, or simply wait to approach so they're not putting themselves in any vulnerable position. So they're opting for some more anchored heroes here, lots of backline DPS, and the Zarya here for the tank pick, which is interesting to me because there's not a lot of synergy outside of like Grab Dragon, of course. There's not a lot of aggressive DPS that you can be bubbling. It's mainly just going to be bubbling for yourself on Zarya, and again, there is always that fear of getting poked out, having your bubbles forced, and not really being able to play too aggressively here. As speaking of aggression, big boy Wally popping all of his cooldowns, running straight down the front line. No more bubbles left for the Zarya. Can they finish this kill? Discord will secure it, and the Reaper damage is no joke into a tank like Zarya, but all these headshots coming through, that anchored backline paying off for the red team. Despite that early pick, it's blue team that needs to slow down and wait for some spawners here.
Yeah, hopefully blue team gets lucky and their spawners get back up just a little bit quicker with that spawn advantage. So the extra menu is able to find one shot there. I mean, blue team got off to a great start. Froyo was able to find a great bionade at the beginning of that fight as well, even though they have gone down to the kunai of Adis, and that is going to be the red team fully standing on this high ground, and they aren't going to be dislodged just yet as Kiyosashi on Ram is back into the fight. And even though there were some eliminations found by the blue team, they weren't able to push through and get those extra picks. And now we have another fight about to start here, Tick. There's a lot of critical members already on the blue team, and this is really starting them on the back foot, and that is another great shot from Extra Menu.
Absolutely. It's just so hard for the blue team to approach all these long, incredible sight lines. On their red team's attack, they dealt with this by just getting right up in their face with the dive comp, right? But blue team needs to work slower into this space, and so they need to look a lot more coordinated. They need to treat their comp almost like a dive comp and give some 3-2-1s when they're rounding the corner, just to make sure they can all make use of Ramatra's shield. They can rotate into some new positions, but it seems like right now they're trying to play a more defensive game. They're trying to play for poke, and that's really more of a 50-50 matchup here. Since poke is happening from both sides, there's no guarantee that you're going to get the first pick.
Right now, yeah, the blue team is really struggling with getting where they want to go. Before they get to their final destination, they've already lost a player or two to something like these Hanzo shots, and now we got the Dragons coming out as well, getting a lot of hit markers and the neutral kill on the Cax. So that is once again this blue team starting at a disadvantage and just inviting the red team to come in and get picks of their own. The blues is able to find one, and the Annihilation is up and going, 30 HP before Wally decides to throw up the block, but they are dispatched once again. Ada's doing a great job on that. Kariko finding the final blows in these fights, although Kiyosashi once again shows up with the fist flying, and that is going to be another couple kills. And now we are into the final minute, and so far blue hasn't made it very far.
Not at all. They do have some pretty important ultimates coming up, notably that Transcendence should help them survive Kiyosashi's ultimate no problem, as long as they're planning for it and don't get picked off early, of course. So blue team just needs to make this fight count. They need to find some solid picks instead of get picked themselves. Cax goes down early once again with only 30 seconds on the clock. Blue team's going to opt to just fully reset and give their best chance on their last push.
As of now, the story of Circuit Royale has not changed. That first pick coming out time and time again for the red team and starting them off on the best foot they possibly can. And now with this final fight coming, 10 seconds for somebody on the blue team to touch the payload. They have a couple ultimates online, like you noted, Tick. They have that Transcendence at their disposal. Overclock is going to come out here early from Cax, and that is going to be a bot from Hateful Ace as well. These ultimates being spent here. Transcendence coming out in the middle. Blues is able to find two on the Cowboy. Can they get more? Can they get more? Resurrection going into the back line. Nice headshot onto the Mercy, but there was just too much pressure on that Cassidy, so they get taken down. And Ada's still in this fight right now is going to mean that this red team is going to be able to hold on to the point, but nice accretion coming out from big boy Wally. And with overtime burning away, blue team will get it close to the end, but there will be recontest coming through from New Beats Snoots here in overtime.
So stressful trying to get this point capped for the blue team, but they're handling the aggressors one by one. When red team's coming in staggered like this, they no longer have that coordinated pressure, and they're a lot easier to deal with. We see Cax swapping back onto the Widowmaker now, trying to make use of those long sight lines rather than try and force his way in on Sojourn. I like the swaps, and now that we've got the card to first point cap, 2 minutes back on the clock, let's see if blue team can set up some proper standard positions here now that we're in a more of a slow mirrored match situation.
And now that blue team has some of that momentum going forward, this might actually be one of their better chances to try and get up this hill in one fell swoop. Nice block with the shield onto the accretion, making sure that that stun doesn't come through for the new beats Newts. And now extra menu going on the flank. They do have a Dragon Strike online, but they haven't opted to use it just yet. Here it goes down main towards the cart. Is going to find a lot of damage, and now the kills are coming through as Kiyosashi and extra menu are able to find one each, and it's the usual suspects coming through for red team once again. Ada's, Hateful Eight, extra menu were all on there, and that is a great fight, engaging with the dragons, and then the follow-up once again was there for the red team.
Yeah, a clean fight wipe off a single ultimate, really well budgeted from the red team there. They'll still have plenty of tools to handle the next blue team offense here. A nice rock canceling the Sigma hands there from Big Boy Wally. I imagine they're going for some sort of Graviton Flux, maybe High Noon play, try and get some synergy going across their ultimates here, because they really need to get the ball rolling. They want to cap this point before overtime starts ticking.
Yeah, we'll see if they use the Sky Noon combo with the Sigma and the Cassie coming out as we are once again down to a minute, but Cax is able to find a headshot on extra menu. So that is going to be opening the door for blue team to get forward. Hand comes out to try and mitigate the Deadeye, and that does a pretty good job at it, but Blues was able to find the damage to eventually take out Kiyosashi on that Sigma. And now Blue Ranger showing some good tech on that Mercy to get out of dodge, just flying away at the speed of light to stay alive, even though Hateful Eight does go down. There is another resurrection. Blue Ranger has done that a couple times already here on Circuit Royal, and that is going to be the second team getting capped. So Tick, I was worried that maybe the hill there on second point would really slow the blue team down, but even though they hit a bit of a snag, they have made it into the hotel and still have an outside chance at a full cap.
Absolutely. There's still a lot of potential for the rest of this map. There's still plenty of ultimates available from both teams. Lots of playmaking on the table. It's funny seeing the fight before that last one. Single Hanzo Dragon leads the fight, and this time single High Noon from Blues. He said, "You can do it, so can I." Easy fight win. Lots of ultimates still available for the blue team. Let's see what they decide to commit next going into third point here. They've already got the cart moving. They've already forced the team back. It looks like they might not need to do too much work except survive the Sigma Flux coming through. The sound barrier will help them do that, no problem. Just kidding. Healing is cosmetic now, and Sigma goes down. Cax tries to equalize with a pick onto the Hanzo, but with no tank, this is going to be a very hard fight to stay alive in.
Yeah, there's no chance right now for the blue team. You can see them trying to get out, but even though Cax got pretty far back, they weren't able to dodge enough damage. They go down, and now this is going to be 50 seconds left on the clock. So realistically, one, maybe two more good engagements depending for the blue team to see if they can get this payload moving again.
Ooh, that's not a good start with Broyo going down. Equalized by Cax, but having one of your supports down is never a good look, especially one with an ultimate available.
Yeah, so
Flux
4v4 for watch happening right now. And there's the Flux, and Big Boy Wally.
Big Flux from Big Boy Wally.
And that is a great accretion. That is some solid signal play coming up from Wally there. And now it's going to be getting to overtime, and Blue still have a chance to get all the way to the end.
Yeah, the only sad part about this for the blue team is that they're going to be forced to stay on the payload for the remainder of the map if they want a full cap. With no lingering away, no taking angles, they need to make sure this payload stays contested, otherwise overtime will tick away. And with these blue team ultimates coming through, the Dragon Strike now, and potentially the TAC Visor coming in, this becomes a very dangerous place to stand.
Almost hits the combo in onto extra menu, but they were able to jump out. And unfortunately for the blue team, they are running into a bunch of ultimates from the defense right now, and just everybody in the queue obviously not saving those for the next map, and that is going to put the nail in the coffin as New Beats Newts take another round.
Definitely a more competitive series there, and I think we finally saw the blue team coming into their own. They're finding their style of play, setting the tempo themselves, getting aggressive together, all that good stuff. We didn't see much of that on Kings Row, and they were struggling with it for a while on first point attack, but once they found the flow state, once they got in there, they started to make some really big moves and really good plays.
Yeah, great signal play at the end there from Wally too, even though there's that picture I'll never be ready for it. We could, like, every time we come back to that picture, you're gonna see me just pause momentarily while my brain processes what's happening beside me. But Tick, we had a lot of big plays coming out there from the blue team at the end. It just wasn't enough to get them over the line. And I mean, with these Pugs scenarios, you don't have pre-made teams, you don't have people to play together a lot. Like, obviously, we've mentioned the tanks on opposite sides know each other. But for a team that seems to have gelled pretty quickly, the red team has had some pretty strong coordination.
For sure. There's definitely been a distinct level of aggression coming from the red side, right? There's a lot of fast moving plays. We saw it on Kings Row with the Rhine pins and the May walls, and we saw it here on Circle Royale too, even running dive comp with the Winston Genji Sombra. Lots of fast paced aggression. They're definitely leaning in to the more lethal nature of this patch that Overwatch 2 recently had. Blue team, it definitely feels like they might be a little bit flustered, maybe a little bit overwhelmed by the amount of pressure coming through. But when they do manage to survive that opening trade, those opening cooldowns, there's a lot of fights where they're bouncing back quickly, outlasting and overwhelming the rest of those red team aggressors. If they can get on that page a little bit faster, we could see these maps starting to trend in the opposite direction.
And speaking of things maybe trending a little bit differently, we are going to see the tanks get swapped between the two teams. So the tank element of this equation is going to change. We'll see how much of it has been the tank play, how much of it is the teams behind them that have decided these first two maps.
All right, so this really is the battle of the MTDs, huh? These two tank players, we know they're friends. We know this is all in good fun. It is just Pugs after all, but I'm sure there's a lot of bragging rights on the line for the victory of this series. So this will be interesting. We'll shake things up. It could be more even than we're seeing on screen. There could be tons of emotional and vocal feedback that these tanks are giving. Maybe Kiyosashi's leading their team to victory. Maybe on the other side, Big Boy Wally, maybe he's calming all the ultimates and all these plans. We never know. We can't tell from the casting desk here. We can only see what happens in game. So this swap, it could be everything, or we could see more of the same. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and you're right, Tick. Maybe there's an element of shot calling, of in-game leadership. I know, that can be a strong point for a lot of tanks, as they're good at making these calls. So that could definitely be something that changes during this next map, which I'm not sure which map it will be just yet, but I am interested to see how that tank thing changes things. And one thing I've really liked so far in this matchup between these two teams, regardless of where the tanks end up, is the different styles we've seen. It's not like every map so far has been like both teams playing the same comp, right? We're seeing a lot of variants, which for these Pugs matchups can be really fun as well.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, we're not talking about coordinated play, like you mentioned. These are just Pugs. These are just players coming together, having fun playing the game. So any type of synergy we're seeing is happening on the fly. These are not pre-planned engagements. These are not pre-planned ultimate combos or anything like that. That's what makes these kinds of plays that much more impressive. This is more akin to a ranked game than it is any style of competitive Overwatch you might be used to. So it's absolutely great to see the level of coordination we are seeing from both sides, the level of value these players are getting. And one thing I am curious about, it's been loser's map pick going into these rounds. Is that correct?
I believe so. That would be my assumption, and from what Harvester's telling me, that is the case. So we are going to New Queen Street. So Tick, for you and I, us Canadians, we are going to be seeing some Toronto.
Well, I'll have to get some nostalgia from you because I'm still down here in Texas dealing with the heat. But I can pretend I'm up there in the cool streets of Toronto and waiting in line for my Tims. Or something. Listen,
like where I am, we had a pretty decent temperature drop today, followed by a bunch of snow. So I'd stay in Texas if I were you.
Oh yeah, my parents are off on the East Coast. They're right by the water, and they got it looks like 6 feet of snow. It's just ridiculous. They were fully snowed in for a couple days. My mom sent me a picture of the window that shows our back deck, and it's just a full block of white snow, keeping them inside.
Oh yeah, like last year I had last summer my dad drove my car out there, so he had a car out east, kind of in the same area your folks are in, and I got a picture of my car a couple weeks ago, and you couldn't see it. It was gone. It was under the snow.
Definitely not something Texans would be used to, but we got snow. We got a couple inches a couple of years ago. We might get something this year, who knows. But yeah, I'll take the heat over the cold any day, not gonna lie.
Yeah, you just get that meeting of the Summer Tires Club when you get all the cars on the side of the road there once there's a couple inches of snow.
Yeah, of course. All those YouTube videos with the Benny Hill music going. All right, we are loading into New Queen Street here. We are seeing some interesting tank hovers. We're seeing some Doomfist. We're seeing some Reinhardt. Again, not the most ideal Rhine map I would picture given how long these sight lines are, but if anyone's going to make it work, it's Kiyosashi. After those pin plays we saw on Kings, I think he can make anything happen.
Yeah, we'll see what these tanks want to do here. Like, Kiyosashi is just sticking to that Reinhardt. I personally say the more aggressive Reinhardt play I can see, the better. I mean, the only people that don't like seeing a Reinhardt charge in with 25 health are the support lines, because it can get stressful sometimes to keep that Reinhardt standing on their own 2 feet, but we have...
Oh, and here it comes, into the main wall!
The statues, and that is either luck or coordination. Either way, they get this pin onto the main wall. Johnny Boy finds the final blow, and now combined with the Bionade coming out there from Broyo, that is going to be the first fight here going to the blue team. So Kiyosashi still playing that Reinhardt, still looking good. And the team not looking too shabby either at the start of New Queen Street.
Absolutely not. That pin play was everything to get that fight going. Normally you'd expect to see the Doomfist, Tracer, and Genji getting aggressive before a Reinhardt, but not today. That combo with the Maywall, I'm convinced this is not just a solo ranked main tank player. This is a team player communicating and coordinating with his teammates around him to find success. Again, once again, that wall into the pin takes down big boy Wally. He just can't get anything done when there's so many people focused on him.
And this can be the rough element of a push map from time to time. It is a bit of a snowball-y map type, and now we got Kiyosashi into the back line once again. Eats a couple of shots, but that's totally fine. The support's there from Broyo and Johnny Boy, and that is going to be the checkpoint already reached here in just over a minute and a half for the blue team, and they are storming the castle so far here on push.
Yeah, with a cap already coming through less than 2 minutes into the start of the game, this is, to say the least, somewhat irregular for a push map, and a shatter to confirm that the snowball continues off the map with you, big boy Wally. Kiyosashi doesn't even mind taking a dip himself if it means his team can snowball into the rest of this fight and keep on pushing that robot.
This is a very strong showing so far. Cat's getting forward. The aim is there no matter. The hero throws up the Maywall to see if they can dodge the Coalescence, but Blue Ranger was able to stay at the top of that wall and get right back into the fight. Extra Menu is able to get one, and we are finally seeing the red team punch back here with a 3K pulse bomb from Hateful Ace. You love to see it from the DPS line, and listen, Kiyosashi, once they saw that 3K in the kill feed, they knew it was over.
Yeah, that's a bit of a fight-telling play, I would say. When half your team just evaporates into thin air, there's not too much you can do after that point. Like you mentioned, though, Cax hitting some excellent shots, but might have overstepped a little bit there on the Mei. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we saw a Majax in that last fight. No more Blizzard available for Cax since he went down mid-cast of that ultimate.
Yeah, let's give it an A++ to the term Majax. I will be using that one later, so thanks, Tim. As we got Kiyosashi going back in, and now Extra Menu coming over the top with the Dragon Blade, but all they do is eat the pin from the Reinhardt and retreated, and follows up with the Fire Strike from range. Kiyosashi's absolutely unhinged.
He is an absolute freight train right now. He is dominating this lobby. He's even got the excellent Reinhardt skin with that hammer. Look at that new hammer they made for him. He looks good doing it. He can't be stopped. What can't this man do? Put him on a different team, he's still dominating the lobby. He is absolutely becoming a huge difference maker here, to the point where red team's swapping the majority of their composition to help counter him. We see the Mei coming through now. Ramatra finally punching through that shield and finishing the kill. Should spell a fast reposition and retake from the red team, assuming they don't get anyone else picked off here. Hateful Face getting a little bit aggressive. and gets punished for it. So many staggers into these fights. All this really means is that red team can't continue pushing the robot, even though they won the previous fight. Kiyosashi now here, resetting. Blue team still has close spawns. They never made the bot back to that midway point, and they're already lining up walls and pins. They're already taking the game into their own hands. If they see red on their screen, you know it's hitting the go button time. They are always aggressive. They have not let up a single moment since this map started.
You can see blue team right there was absolutely fine and just kiting back, waiting for those players to come back into the fight. Now we got the coalescence and nano boost coming out as well. Blues throws down the overclock and gets a headshot on the Hateful Eight, and now with another kill. This is going to be the teams trading it back and forth. Right now, extra menu on that maid, just trying to delay as long as they can. They get the kill in on the Cax. So this is the red team staying alive in this fight, and they finally push it past the midpoint. They reset those spawns for the blue team. Now Boyo and Big Boy Wally both going down, so Kiyosashi is back. And this tank is going to last against a Mei as long as they land another pin. That is something that a Mei can survive, at least momentarily, but there's the follow-up there. I don't know if they need a shatter tick. That seems like a bit much.
At this point, it's just for style points, right? They're 90 to 5 meters on the map right now. I don't think the bot has spent more than half a second on the other side of the map. They just keep on putting their foot on the pedal and keep on moving forward. Kiyosashi is in the driver's seat and in full control of this map right now.
Listen, it's my job to talk about this stuff, but I couldn't say it better than Sharp did in chat, which is he can't keep getting away with this. Hateful Eight's able to find one as we got the Blizzard coming out here for extra menu. Red team now seeing if they can finally mount a late push, but if they want any sort of noticeable progress, they're going to have to win multiple fights in a row and keep holding on to their players. And so far, at least this time around, they've done pretty good at that. They don't want extra menu to go too far, even if they have that mercy pocket.
Yeah, it's smartly backing off a little bit here. We don't want to repeat of what happened on the other side of the map. They really just need to start getting some robot progress here. So they're going to play for a nice, safe setup, wait for their tank to do the dirty work for them in the front line. Hopefully not get pinned this time. Hateful Eight manages to dash away at the last second. Well done, well played there. And this time, again, if Kiyosashi doesn't get a pin, it's up to red team to help stabilize and make sure they get punished for overextending, which they do trade out, but they do manage to take the raid boss down, which should show good signs for the red team. Rezzing back their tank, they should be in a pretty comfortable spot here to take the fight back to the robot.
That was unlucky for Big Boy Wally. They did get hit by the Bionade, and that has happened again. So Boyu obviously going through and trying to focus the Bionades on the tank of the opposite team right now, which can get them a lot of extra mileage in some of these fights if you can heal up the tank. And now we got the Blizzard coming out again, this time from Cax, and Kiyosashi's going to throw down the Shatter as well. That's going to get 2 picks, and the blue team, just like that, back in control of the bot, back pushing this forward, and with 2:45 left on the clock, this is going to be close to a miracle. Red's able to pull this around, and that is a gross icicle coming up for Cax, and now they can focus down Hateful Ace, who's all on their lonesome, not long for this world. And that is the bar back to pushing almost at the end of the road here on New Queen Street.
Yeah, these late deaths for the red team are really hurting their chances of recontesting properly, but as we've seen before, blue team overextending and getting picked themselves, not even able to regroup with their tank before they have to give up space here. I have to say, in that last point, we've been talking so much about Kiyosashi, and he has been extremely dominant, but I definitely saw Big Boy Wally block a shatter with a ram shield, so he deserves a shout out. I want to make sure we get to that. Even though his team got obliterated, there was a Blizzard going on at the same time. That was a nice play. I see you, Wally.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can block any ultimate with the very limited shield that Ramantra has access to, that's going to be really good for them. And now they got the Blizzard coming out, but that is a great sound barrier. That is crazy. All the support ult that's going in onto that Reinhardt. And Dick, I have said this before. You show me a good Reinhardt, I'll show you a support line that is healing that Reinhardt a lot. And that is exactly what's happening for blue team. And now it's carnage. Kiyosashi getting flowing down the shatter, the old headshot shatter onto the Mei. And that is a lot of resources getting put into your Reinhardt, and that is those choices paying off.
Absolutely. I have to imagine at the start of Kiyosashi getting swapped onto this team, or even just at the start of this Pug night in general, talking to his first team, I feel like he made this personal. He was telling his teammates, we need to kill their tank. We need to let me pop off. You're either going to let me do it or we're going to lose. And both these teams are leaning into it. And we are absolutely seeing Reinhardt domination at its peak. He, like you said, like Sharp said, he simply can't keep getting away with it. Otherwise, as we're seeing, he's just going to take over the whole lobby.
And you can see how valuable those first couple pushes were for the blue team. Even though it's been a lot more even the further we've gone here on New Queen Street, there's just not a lot of mileage there for the red team right now as they keep having to win multiple fights just to get anywhere. Nice boost coming out there from Ada's onto the Reinhardt, and Kiyosashi trying to put their shield everywhere at once to keep them up into the fight, getting down to 1 HP, and there is the annihilation to finish off the ultimate opposite tank. And now we are about to head into overtime, and just like we saw on Circuit Royal Tick, this is going to be one team stuck on the payload, and they have a unbelievably long way to go.
Yeah, that's about 5 fights, not gonna lie, with how slow the bot moves and the butt scratch that they have to stay on the payload itself. And blue team's gonna be building ultimates. They're gonna have to be scared of those Mei walls and those Rhine pins. There are so many things that need to go right for the red team here, but they do have a Blizzard ready. They do have some big playmaking ultimates, but Big Boy Wally going down early is not a good sign. The Blizzard goes deep, hits almost everyone in the backline, killing the Ana, freezing the Mei. They can turn this, but we see Kiyosashi here with the shatter. He could end things in a moment's notice when he decides to pull the trigger into thin air and hits nothing. Separated from his backline, he will still finish the job with his hammer swings. 100 damage now, by the way, closing the map out with another dominant performance.
There was some close calls even in that last fight. Where my tank diff at, Kiyosashi says in chat. That kind of does describe that map. This is going to be whatever the play of the game ends up being. It's going to be wild. I can guarantee you that. And we are going to see this pin into the back. Like this, like really, Kiyosashi is going to get a lot of the flowers here from being that Reinhardt, being the one with the kill feed. Look at all these swings just hitting pay dirt. But it's a team effort when a tank's playing that good. Honestly, everybody's there. That's the best I've weathered that out of the 3 times it's come up so far. By that I mean that picture.
I do feel like we need to give a small like PSA to anyone watching and anyone playing at this level in their ranked games. This really only works when your whole team is on board with that level of aggression and making sure that you've got the communication. We saw the coordination between Cax and the Reinhardt there, making sure the Mei wall was there for the pin. We saw the amount of healing, like you said. There was the one fight where he got both sound barrier and nano boost to help him survive a blizzard. Everything was being poured into the Rhine, and it absolutely paid off.
Yeah, I mean, I can really say, as somebody that's played kind of at this elo and played Reinhardt in both Overwatch 1 and 2, when you get a game like this where your supports are like, oh, we're going to just like basically put all our resources into this Reinhardt, it can be some of the most fun games you play because you're like, I can't die, I'm trying my hardest to die, and it's just not happening. And I feel like there were times, especially in that last map, where Kiyosashi should have gone down and just didn't.
Yeah, so many, to be honest. Some fights he's living with 5 HP, others it doesn't seem he drops below 500 because of how much pressure is being relieved by his supports and how many kills are coming through so quickly that no one can even shoot at him. So many fights almost immediately decided by a quick pin, a quick wall, a quick shatter. I gotta say it, this was a bit of an MTD. Absolutely tanked almost, not even just in-game, but you could clearly tell there was a higher level of coordination on any of the teams Kiyosashi was working with. You could tell he was screaming his mouth off, calming with his team, trying to get them to work together, and we saw the difference in game.
So we are going to get one more. It looks like we're going to be heading to Lijiang Tower, so we'll get some control action to cap off the night. And shout out to Spring and chat as well, asking if they've ever seen Kiyosashi and Bumper in the same room together. It's a valid question. I sure haven't.
You guys heard Runaway was coming back for OWCS? We might be seeing it here first.
Yeah, they have to start somewhere, right? This is probably the wrong place, but we can't rule it out.
Yeah, it could be anywhere at any time. You never know. But yeah, unironically, very close to the same style that made the Vancouver Titans Runaway so dominant in Rhine meta was how aggressive they were able to play off of their Rhine. And when you play like you're never going to die, you can get away with a lot if you actually never die.
I mean, it really helps that support line that Bumper used to have as well. I know Twilight was one of them. I can't remember off the top of my head who the main support was, but they were
Slime.
just great. Wasn't
Slime, the mental maniac. He was apparently the mastermind and absolute genius when it came to calling tempo and macro. So I've heard.
Always got to be careful of those Lucio players. You know what I'm saying? So we are.
I heard that.
We are getting ready to go in to Lijiang Tower High Sharp, and that definitely wasn't directed at you in any way whatsoever. How I was gonna segue this was I was going to say, speaking of Lucio players, we're headed to Lijiang Tower.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say it. We're probably going to see more Ryan here. At least on Control Center, Ryan absolutely thrives with those short corners and sightlines. Lots of little bits of terrain to pin into and stuff like that. Maybe a bit harder on the other 2 rounds, but honestly, if anyone's going to make it work, it's Kiyosashi.
Yeah, no kidding. So I think you're right. I was about to go customer and be like, well, what about this? What about... No, I'm pretty sure you're right. I think it'll be a Reinhardt.
If they want to make it more interesting, maybe they want to swap to something else and throw some wrenches in the machine. But yeah, I guess we'll have to see what they're rolling out with here.
Yeah, we'll be flipping over onto the game screen here in a second, as I believe they are getting ready to go. So anytime we get rolling on that would be good. I believe I can hear the sounds of a team fight
There's
already.
Something going on. All right, we're heading in now.
Flying one way or the other. Oh, there goes Kiyosashi. I can see from the kill feed exactly what happened, and it was Kiyosashi doing Kiyosashi things and then going over the edge. But the rest of the blue team is there once again to push forward, take bridge control, and take this first cap. So even though the main tank goes down, this is going to be a first fight for the ticket team.
That's what we in the business call space created. Absolutely finding value there. Hard to say it's worth when it's just a 1-for-1 trade, but clearly blue team was able to make it work off the back of that engagement.
All right, so I do like seeing this Pharah action as well, you know, with the new patch. We got a bit of a more mobile Pharah as extra menu is going in right now. Red team running the double flyers, and it seems to be paying some dividends. Nice sticky bomb combo onto that Cassie to get them out of the fight. And the DPS line right now for New Beat Snoots, the red team are getting forward and getting those picks. So after 34%, that is going to be the red team flipping the point.
Yeah, this double flyer composition, we've seen this every now and then, even in coordinated play. I would refer to it as a bit of a sort of skill check composition. This is especially punishing to any grounded members because there's just so many airborne threats that they have to react to. And if their DPS can't handle that much pressure, there's really not much any tank in the game. Even D.Va, which we see Kiyosashi swapping to here, can't handle pressuring both flyers at the same time. So there's always going to be some level of constant pressure coming in from the red side. And it's up to all of blue team's backline to help deal with it, which we don't see them doing other than a nice headshot landed by Cax. But that quick D-mech and kill onto the Ana will probably spell a victory for the red team.
That headshot wasn't able to by the fact that Hateful Ace was ulting, so basically that Farah just floating there.
Yeah, that was a training range bot he headshot.
Yeah, so, but I mean, listen, the minute that Kiyosashi got Demek there, that was Hateful Ace going in with the barrage, which is the best time to use it, not having to worry about the defense matrix. But Big Boy Wally has a D.Va self-destruct online as well, seeing if they want to throw that in. But the blue team rotating around to the white room, seeing if they can come in. Now Kiyosashi switching over to the Zarya, which is a counter to that D.Va. Cax able to find one headshot before they absolutely get blown up by Hateful Ace. Trades coming through as Blue Ranger finding again another resurrection as Hateful Ace is finding the shots with the far right now and holding on to this point for the blue team. And that was a very ambitious Deadeye try there from Blues, and it did not pan out for them.
Not quite. We see the Zarya swap, like you mentioned, probably to counter the enemy D.Va, which absolutely in the 1v1 is the correct choice. But against these double flyers, I really don't see Zarya doing too much. If you use too many bubbles defensively, trying to eat all those sticky bombs and rockets, you're not going to be able to walk forward with much pressure. if you burn too many bubbles and can't close the distance versus those members, then they're just going to keep farming your backline. So it's a really tough choice for Kiyosashi to try and find value here. He has to walk onto the point, has to walk into the front line, but there's so much damage, so much pressure coming out from the rest of the red team, including the Diva Bomb from Big Boy Wally here, that's just making his backline fall apart.
Yeah, and the Boostio did come out there for the blue team, but even the Boostio wasn't enough to turn this one around for them. As Blue Ranger finds another res here at what looks like the tail end of this round. I don't see the blue team coming back on this one. Bionade in onto Johnny Boy, who is the last to fall here on Gardens, and that is going to be 1-0 red team here in Lijiang Tower as we get ready for the next sub map.
I think if you're the red team here, you are praying for Night Market. Not this one. Praying for the availability of space for those double flyers. But this one, I mean, if there's any Reinhardt maps on Lijiang Tower, it's this one. They are making some swaps to red team's DPS. No more flyer pressure here. It's a pretty low skybox. There's not a lot of great sight lines. You can't get too aggressive with them. But hey, why play a flyer with rockets when you could play a grounded rat with explosives, who just got his hitboxes increased to make him even more lethal?
But if we're talking about a character that really can work on Control Center and maybe not anywhere else, I think Junkrat would also fall into that category. So we'll see what the Junk is able to do this time around. Kiyosashi coming out on the Winston instead of the Diva that they were showing last round. And then the Zarya and Big Boy Wally is able to already get a pick with the hands in onto Broyo. And that is going to be Blue's Cacti turning back. So now the blue team are up 1, and they are trying to see if they can press this advantage and get the first cap coming through, just like we saw in Gardens. Blues getting off to the good start.
Really smart play from blue team's DPS there to swing out wide, closer to the point, as soon as they saw Big Boy Wally ready to commit into that white room on the high ground there. As soon as they know where Ramatra is, they also know where he isn't. So them filling that gap where Ramatra can't quite reach them allows them to find those juicy headshots into the squishy backline and find those early picks. Really smart rotation and really smart play from the blue team's backline. Kiyosashi doing work with the dive, of course, helping keep that pressure up, but that was a really big DPS diff right there. It's hard for the red team to close the distance, so they're making sure they're out rotating them as they're walking up.
And Sharp did say that Winston is the Reinhardt of the Animal Kingdom, which I guess if the options are Winston or Wrecking Ball, then I guess you're right. At least one of them has a shield that they can
Technically,
put down.
he has a shield, yeah.
Yeah, so it's technically more right. So I'm going to have to give the points to Sharp on that one. As red team rotating through server room, seeing if they can find some purchase, find some picks. Nothing happening just yet. We got Blue Ranger over onto that Baptiste to see if they can get anybody down. Immortality Field has to come out as the Bionade was splashed in on Big Boy Wally, and Kiyosashi has thrown down the primal right in onto the point, knocking everybody everywhere. As Extra Menu is able to hit 2 with the tire, and that is going to wrap it up for this fight. A great Riptire coming out from the Extra Menu.
Absolutely, and we did see Big Boy Wally there forcing a lot of pressure onto Kiyosashi, making sure that dive wasn't shutting down his DPS, and to make sure they were able to get deep enough to find value for their abilities. Really nice value from the Junkrat. We're seeing a lot of shots finding value at that early Riptire, finding both supports, but he does count down early here, gonna make it a lot harder for the red team to get aggressive when they lose half their damage.
Yeah, 8 Blaze is going to have to use his overclock for something good, but we got Bob on the point, and Bob is mowing everybody down, getting picks, even though Big Boy Wall is able to find one back. That is going to be next to nothing compared to the value that came out from Bob in that last fight. So Flip coming through, a paltry 33% coming out for the red team, and we are inching close to what could be final fight territory here on Control Center and bring us to a 1-1 scoreline on Lijiang Tower.
Absolutely, but red team still got a few ultimates in their pocket, including a very important sound barrier, which can easily help stabilize in any sticky situations. Let's see how they choose to aggress here. They're running all the way into blue team's backline. You see the DPS rotating, but there's still a juicy Ana with no movement abilities that they can capitalize on. The sound barrier mid-fight doesn't quite save Big Boy Wally, and again, no tank makes it very hard to stabilize. It's so volatile when your tank isn't there absorbing pressure for you, anchoring on point for you, and stuff like that. So it's up to the Extra Menu and Hateful Ace coming back now with the Soldier to try and come back something fast. I don't think it's going to be enough.
It's not looking good. Overtime burning away here. No more touches coming through for the red team. So that is going to be blue up the score line here in Lijiang Tower. And now we have a winner-take-all map 3.
Now, if I were a soothsayer, if I were a fortune teller, I would say blue team's going to do some sort of Symmetra Rhine composition.
You might be. I wouldn't be
This is
surprised.
the classic TP to point Rhine strat, no? Unfortunately for them, this is also a very viable flyer map. Lots of long sight lines for the Pharah to use, lots of nice vertical windows around the point for them to use to rain damage in. Looks like we're not seeing the Symmetra, so they're not going to be hitting the point as fast as humanly possible, but they will definitely be anchoring their space down and looking to use those aggressive hammer swings to hold it down. Just kidding, they're on Winston, the Reinhardt of the Animal Kingdom. Again, Winston, hard to see how he's realistically going to threaten either of those flyers, although with Farah's new rework, she does need to stay grounded a little bit more, similar to Echo, so maybe he can find those brief moments where they're vulnerable on the ground without any cooldowns.
And the first objective for the blue team was done, which is get to that point first, because this is where you want to set up with this type of composition. But Extra Menu is already able to get one with the focusing beam.
Ooh, make
and
that
now,
two.
with the res not quite coming through, Boreo goes down mid-res, and that is Blue Ranger showing you I can get one of those reses in. And of course that is due to the massive pressure coming out from the red team. They are going to get the first pick here. And
Was that a mercy diff? One getting the res, the other one dying?
I mean, for that fight, for sure, yeah.
Well played from the red team. Again, so hard to deal with either of these flyers. I think the red team recognizes, okay, as long as we don't have to deal with Kiyosashi, we can actually play the video game. So clicking some heroes that help them do that, although the magnetic grenade not allowing Hateful Ace to get away from that forward position, allowing that kill to come through. Kiyosashi finishing the kill. Let's see if red team can stabilize, find a trade. Cax goes down. Trades again back and forth.
And now I think they might be able to come back into this. Extra Menu is going to have to do some work on this Echo. They are going to copy the Lucio, which is a little bit unorthodox, but Hateful Eight is able to find a boop off the side, and now red team is fully back into the fight, able to get a couple eliminations. So I guess I shouldn't question it. The duplication onto the Lucio works.
Yeah, I mean, 100% success rate, right? I don't think I've ever seen it before, but it worked here, so I'm convinced. Absolutely. Still 0% for the blue team here. They need to make this next fight work, otherwise they're going to be in close last fight territory.
A high value dupe indeed. We are getting close to the end. If blue team can get back into this, we'll see what they have cooking in the pot for this next fight here. Kiyosashi does have the Primal Rage online, and they're about to have a Deadeye as well. So a couple ultimates they can use, although red team is going to lose the access to their barrage for a short time as Johnny Boy is able to find the final blow in onto that Pharah. Kiyosashi getting down to half HP, jumping in over the top, looking like they want to get as much damage as they can, and then maybe pop that Primal if they need to, as they haven't really gone below 300 HP yet, so they are just standing onto the point, using that tickle gun to full effect, and now we got the barrage coming back in. That is able to find nothing but a headshot coming back at them from Blues. Self-destruct coming in onto point, so it looks like red team has got it to 99%, seeing if they can turn this one around, but it's going to be tough. Blue team setting up shop onto the point. Blues not a lot of pressure put onto them, so they're able to find those shots no problem. And now with Kiyosashi taking down Blue Ranger, this is all but a matter of time, it looks like, before Blue's finally able to flip the point.
Lots of good trades back and forth. Ooh, maybe an unnecessary sound barrier, but hey, if it's 99 and you're stressed, why not make it a little easier on yourselves to help finish up this fight? This is absolutely a crucial fight for the blue team here, finally flipping the point into their favor. Luckily, hanging on to a couple key ultimates here, the Primal, the Bob, should make it easy for them to hold on to the point, at least for the first fight or two.
So would you say that red team's goal here is maybe not even to get the point, but just pull some of these ultimates out so they maybe have a cleaner fight down the road?
It's hard to say. They could be trying to go all in and ending it right here and now, since they did see that sound barrier come out. There's no true defensive abilities left available to help sustain against that Kiriko rush or this copy Winston that we're seeing coming in, hit deep into the backline. A massive dive. We're seeing Overwatch 1 again. It's Winston Diva dive. We're so back, baby. And it does find an early kill. The duplicate is over, but there's so much pressure going through. Extra Menu goes down mid-fight, and Kiyosashi's Primal is helping him stay alive, but they need to get back onto the point. They need to hold on here if blue team is going to stay in this game. Lots of damage coming through from the Pharah, but Blue's trading out even with his life finally going down, but kills back and forth. This is not easy for the red team to take hold. Blue team looks like they'll keep control of this point.
That was the scrappiest fight I've seen in a while. Just those trades coming back and forth, and now Big Boy Wally already back in onto the point, has the bomb ready to go. And they are turn. They might just be using that one to get back into their mech now, and we are coming down to possibly the end of this map. One way or the other, one team is going to take it. Right now, the blue team at 70% as they're looking to get ready for one last engage. This fight could be for all of it.
Absolutely. 80 to 99. This is going to be for all the marbles. And guess what? There is not a single ultimate available for either side. The closest one will be this barrage from Paypal. So we'll see if he is able to build this and make a play. But he's in early. He's grounded with no more gas. If he can get fixed here, he can be hopping off. But okay, the Cappy doesn't manage to take him down. Barrage finally online mid-fight here. Sound barrier, will he wait it out? Will he burn through it? He goes right through it, killing the Winston Kiyosashi. Not able to survive that one, despite surviving so many plays prior to it. Such a brawl on point, so many kills back and forth, but that res and that last kill on the Kiriko looks like this is going to be a red team victory.
We are in overtime spawns. Johnny Boy doing a great job just trying to delay this as long as they possible. Leaves comes back.
Oh my goodness.
That is going to be two picks. Blue's absolutely huge. Can they clutch this one out? Big Boy Wally is back, though. They're able to get Kiyosashi back on the wrecking ball. Seeing if they can hold this on. The touch comes through with 1 millisecond left to go before that burns down for good. And blue team will fight this to the very end. Another wrecking ball on the map. It is absolute mayhem right now. Extra menus able to find one. And on to Johnny Boy overtime, still alive and well as we have the self-destruct going in onto the point. Cat's back into the fight, throw down that pulse bomb, but the Diva was able to get back in the mech. That was so agonizingly close.
Oh my God.
And that will do it with an absolute nail-biter of a fight to finish off Li Zhang Tower.
That was such a stressful fight from both teams. So many picks, so many trades, so many ultimates coming out of nowhere. That could have gone either way. That was so tense. And even though blue team there seems like they should have been at advantage, should have had control with the ultimates they had and things like that, it just goes to show how chaotic this game can become. I'm stumbling over my words. I'm scared of myself in my own picture because it's so hard to tell what's going on in these fights. It's so hard to keep up with such explosive, no pun intended, with the Junkrat and the Pharah play we just saw. Gameplay, absolutely mind-boggling how back and forth that last map was. After the one-sided matches we saw earlier in the night, that was such a good fight from both teams, and that just goes to show how close these teams really were.
Yeah, and with two wrecking balls on the map on that last point as well, it became like a figurative and literal minefield. There was just explosions happening everywhere. It was absolutely crazy. Honestly, that's the best fight I've seen on HighGround, bar any mode, any elo. That was just absolutely bananas. So a shout out to both our teams, all of our players for giving us that high level moment of Overwatch. That is gold players showing us the gold standard of what Overwatch
The gold
can be.
standard.
And now we are going to jump down to the lobby. We're going to say thank you to all our wonderful players. So just hang tight, and we are going to drop down and say hello to everybody.
Let's do it. Hello, players.
Hello.
GG.
GG.
That last map especially was such a fun map to watch. Great job, guys. Really fun games. I hope you guys had a blast.
Thank you. I did.
That was fun.
Definitely.
This beats class.
that last map specifically was stressful for me to yell at, so I can only imagine what it was like to play it.
Honestly, it wasn't too stressful. It just felt like a regular comp game.
Gold games, am I right?
Good old gold games. The ball action was especially riveting for sure.
You're telling me this wasn't Owl?
Can we get a clip of that?
I felt like my damn E key was broken, but no, I'm just rusty.
Oh no!
No, it wasn't actually broken. I
actually couldn't play
pressing it way too much.
Well, hopefully we
The
fixed
ping was
thing on the last,
awful.
well, the last two maps should have been a little bit better. I adjusted it to be best available instead of like.
Oh, they were.
They
So-
Every map was a blast to beat the heck out of Wally.
Hey, who
I
won the
think we
last
might have
one? Who won the
picked up
last
on
one?
that from watching. Yeah.
Thanks, like to have fun. Well, thank you guys so much all for coming. It was wonderful having you. And we hope to have you guys back. Hope you had a great time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
GG's,
GG's,
guys.
everyone. Thank you so much for playing.
Good night, everyone.
And
Have a good
Kiyosashi, nice main tank diff. Bye, guys.
Bro, you
MTD.
I don't know.
Wow.
Your supports were getting cooked by me.
I mean,
Tick, I can't believe you say that and then dip. He's like, okay, bye.
I couldn't leave myself open to that, you know. But I mean, am I wrong? Where's the
No,
lie?
I-
You know.
I don't know. I don't remember saying you're wrong at all. I just thought that was a quick exit.
Wait,
Alright,
super
so-
fun games.
It's the last one that matters, Tick. It's the last
Of
one
course,
that
of
matters.
course. If I've learned anything from the internet, it's the last word counts.
Absolutely. Not going to hear any arguments from me. So, with that in mind, that is going to do it for us for tonight. So, once again, thank you to all our wonderful players treating us to some really exciting Overwatch. And while I'm thanking people, I got to thank Sharp. You can hear him every once in a while for hurting everybody and running that lobby. Also for Zippy for finding all the people that were participants tonight. And as I mentioned that, make sure if you haven't, go check out our Discord. We always do these events in the future as well. If you want to be part of them, jump into our Discord and then you'll be able to join future events. Big shout out to Harvester, our prod person. Once again, making me look good. I don't know what Tickety is looking like today, besides scary. That's the only word I can think of there, so I'm just going to leave it at that. And also, I will also say Spring, Sensep, Tori, Kobe, Aegis, Teddy, Marsh, the whole High Ground crew. Thanks so much. Like we always say, it takes a village to make these shows, and we have so many super talented people. So with that, we are going to raid one of our wonderful content creators. So make sure you check them out as well. And if you haven't, give a follow to this channel. We do High Ground every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8:30 p.m. Pacific. And we will be back next Thursday. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for the raid. Once again, Tick, thanks so much for hanging out. It was awesome. We really
my
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
This was great. It's always a
And,
blast watching these players duke it out.
there it is.
One last jump scare for you all.
I mean, I'm not going to say your name 3 times, or maybe you'll just show up behind me. So we're going to leave it there. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Dick. Thanks, Harvester. And we will be back next Thursday. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the raid. We'll see you next week.
GG's. Bye, everyone.